So last week I put a poll on my community tab asking what you, my dear followers, would like to see me post now that I am finally back and ready to change up my content. And would you look at that? It appears a lot of you voted for art. Well, I have some good news for you, because this video is about art that absolutely blew me away. A masterpiece of art that I need to talk about with you guys. The Midnight Gospel. Now before I get into what this show even is, let me make one thing very clear. This show is not for kids. Yeah, it's animated and very colorful, but it has themes and imagery that are definitely not meant to be seen by a younger audience. So if you're a baby boo, that's your warning. So what even is The Midnight Gospel? Well, The Midnight Gospel is a Netflix show by the genius minds of Pendleton Ward, known for his Emmy Award-winning Adventure Time, and comedian Duncan Trussell, who is also known to host a podcast called the Duncan Trussell Family Hour. To be completely honest with you guys, I wouldn't have really recognized either of these guys' names if you asked me before I watched this show. I mean, yeah, I knew about Adventure Time and its massive success, but I never actually bothered to watch it. But now I'm very glad I found out about these two, especially Duncan and his wonderful little podcast. The Midnight Gospel follows Clancy, who lives on his own in a comfy little caravan in the middle of nowhere. Here he is creating his own little podcast, or well, Spacecast as he calls it, which goes into space. But how does this guy get guests in the literal middle of nowhere? Well, that's where this thing comes in, the Universe Simulator. Through this device, Clancy travels to the many wonderful places he finds his guests, meaning it can be literally anything, which brings every episode of this show a lovely element of surprise. When seeing this show pass by for the first time on social media, I honestly didn't think I would like it very much. Sure, it looked great, but I normally get turned off pretty easily by adult cartoons, due to the excessive amounts of cartoon gore and swears. And while the first episode sure did have a lot of cartoon blood splattering around, after watching the second episode, I realized what I was really watching. And it was pretty wonderful. You see, Midnight Gospel isn't your average adult cartoon. Instead of giving you a nice plate of, say, some comedy, some action, adventurous storytelling, you know, the more common package, it gives you a massive scoop of philosophy and thought-provoking themes that you won't only enjoy during the episode, but also after, as you lay on your couch rethinking everything you thought you knew about drugs, healing, and death. And man, what a wonderful experience it is. All the episodes have interesting themes that every human on Earth could probably take something away from. And after every episode, I found myself feeling happily educated and with a new perspective on things. And all was well. Until the final episode. The final episode, Mouse of Silver, hits a whole different level. In this episode, we hear a very real, raw, and emotional conversation between Duncan and his ill mother, where they talk about accepting death. And to make it even more heart-wrenching, the audio you're hearing isn't exactly recent. It's actually from 2013, recorded about 3 weeks before Duncan's mother actually passed on. Unlike with most of the other episodes where the visuals feel much more separated from the actual conversation, this episode's visuals more so complement the dialogue in a way that by the end of it, I was shedding a lot of tears, despite trying my hardest not to get too emotional. Truly, I have never seen an episode of any show that has made this much of an impact on me, and because of this episode alone, it has instantly made itself one of my favorite animated shows ever. Now, for some actual criticism, I guess I have one. That being how hard the dialogue can be to follow with all the visuals and sounds that accompany it. Some episodes, like episode 1, have visuals that don't really match the subject that is being discussed in even the slightest. Though this was obviously intentional. It just makes it hard to follow the actual discussion, but it's quite a joy in my eyes nonetheless. So, who is this show for? Well, I would say it's for those who need a bit of light in their lives right now. And, well, I think that's most of us. If you do watch it, make sure you're going in with an open mind, and maybe with subtitles turned on, since a lot can come in during one of these episodes. Even if you don't think you would enjoy the show in its entirety, I highly recommend you at least check out the final episode. This show is currently streaming on Netflix, I believe worldwide, so do yourself a pleasure and give this show a shot. And hey, tell me what you thought about it in the comments down below. My rating for the show would probably come down to a solid 9 out of 10. I really do hope we get more experimental and wonderfully bizarre shows like this in the future. Get on it, Netflix! I hope you guys liked this quick thoughts video. It's been a while since I've uploaded, and in the meantime I've really been thinking about what I want my channel to be like, so expect more different content like this in the future. I've also been setting up both a Discord and a new Patreon, so feel free to check those out if you're interested. Well, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!